In this video, I'll be demonstrating how to use the image tag. The image tag is used to display an image in a web page. I'm going to cover the basic usage of this tag, the required attributes, and how to position an image using CSS. I'll start by going to littlewebhut.com where I can test out some examples. Then I'll press on HTML, and then I'll come down here and click on the image tag. The first thing to look at here is the syntax. We can see that it is a single tag that doesn't have a separate closing tag. And we'll also notice that the syntax is a little bit different for HTML versus XHTML. XHTML has a closing /. And next I'll scroll down a little bit and notice that there are two required attributes, the alt and the source attribute. We use the alt attribute to define text that will be displayed in the event that the image cannot be displayed. And we use the source attribute to define the location of our image. Here we have an example using the image tag. So let's go ahead and press the Test It button to check this out. And here is our image tag. And the source attribute specifies 8ball.gif, which is the location of my image file. And the alt attribute specifies 8ball, so this text will be displayed in the event that the image cannot be displayed. And then we also have height and width defined here. So I'll press the test button to see what this looks like. And here we have our image. The source attribute that I'm using right now is using relative addressing. And relative addressing means that the location of this 8ball file is relative to my HTML document. So in this particular case, this image is in the same directory that this entire document is in. I can also use absolute addressing, in which case I would specify the entire URL address. So for example, let me copy and paste this line of code, and I'm going to change the image that I'm using here in the source attribute. So when you use absolute addressing, you need to start it off with http:// and give the full URL after that. So I'll do www.littlewebhut.com/ and the image is in a directory called images, and I'm going to display a file called redball. And I should also come over here and change the text that will be displayed in the event that the image cannot be displayed. So now when I click on my test button, I have a second image of a red ball. So again, this is called relative addressing, and this is called absolute addressing. In the image tag here, you'll notice that the height and the width attributes are being used. These values are in pixels. I could, however, change this to a percentage. So for example, this 100 pixels here, I'll change that to 50%. And now when I press the test button, you can see that the image takes up 50% of the available space. The height and width attributes are not required, so I could delete them. And when I do that and press the test button, the image is displayed as its actual size. So now let me delete this second image that I have here, and I'm going to replace it with some text. And I'll go down and press the test button, and you'll notice that this text is displayed after the image at the bottom of the image. Let me add a couple more lines of text, and at the end of each line I'm going to add a break so that I can get a line break at the end of each line. And I'll just copy and paste this a couple more times. And now when I press the test button, I have a single line of text that's at the bottom right corner of this image, and then the other two lines of text are below it. But let's say that I would like all of this text to all be on the right side of this image. I can do that by applying a style to my image. So let me go up here and add a style attribute. And the style property that I'm going to add is the float property. And I'm going to set its value to left. And now when I press the test button here, you'll notice that the text is all lined up on the right side of the image. Now I'm going to add some more lines of text. So I'll just copy these three and then paste them a few more times. And now when I press the test button, you'll see that this text goes down the right side of the image until it gets to the bottom, and then it wraps around and is displayed directly below the image. Also notice that this text here on the right side of the image is touching the image. I could also use a CSS style to add margin to the right side of this image to allow a space to be present between the text and the image. So I could go up here to my style attribute and I'll add a margin right property. And I'll set that to 15 pixels. And now when I press my test button, you can see that I have a space here now between the image and this text. Now let's say that instead of floating this image to the left, that I want to center the image. I can accomplish that also with CSS. So I'll go up to my style here and I'll delete the float property and the margin property. And I first need to set the display property to block. And the next thing that I need to do is to set the left and the right margins to auto. So I'm going to add a margin property. And the first value I'm going to set to 0, which is the top margin. And then the second value is auto, which is the right margin. The third value will be 0, which is the bottom margin. And the fourth value will be auto, which is the left margin. And now when I press the test button, my image is now centered. The CSS styles that I've used during this video have been applied just using the style attribute of the image tag. I can also apply styles up in the head section of this document, and I can also apply it to an external style sheet. If you'd like information on how to do that, you can go back to the littlewebhut.com webpage and click on CSS and then click on How to Apply Styles. And there's information about how to apply styles to the different locations. Well, thanks for watching this video, and please subscribe and leave a comment.